American Airways heading towards America. We left Birmingham in England about an hour and a half back, and we're on our way to have a 3-week holiday in America. This plane will be landing in Chicago O'Hare Airport. We will then get a connecting flight to Las Vegas, where we'll be staying in the Luxor Hotel until next Friday. Friday we then drive to the town of Rachel, near Area 51. And the following week after that we're then heading towards California. Very close. Just took off from Las Vegas Airport. This is the Janet Air Terminal to Groom Lake. All the cars are the workers' cars. One Janet flight sitting there, door room. There's the Janet flight terminal, and the second airliner sitting again there. These flights take the workers to Groom Lake. We're on the 21st floor of the Tropicana Hotel. Ramsey. We're in the middle of nowhere, and there's water in the desert. This is the new sign, and it's the extraterrestrial alien highway. Do a take. The sign, which was erected April 1995, and it is the extraterrestrial alien highway. This is the road to Rachel and Area 51. Well, we're here in Rachel of Nevada, near the military test site, about 20 miles away. That's where we'll be heading next. This is one of the new signs that was erected this year in April, and it's the extraterrestrial highway, and that there is the highway. It's right over the hills, and it's about 100 miles long. We're at the little town of Rachel, in the middle of nowhere. I think the nearest town is probably about 100 miles away. And this is the town of Rachel. It's very hot here, it's about 100 degrees at the moment. These are the typical buildings. And the bottom one is the Alien Inn. This is the town of Rachel. Away is Area 51, and we're going to go head in that area right now.
You don't really realize this is up here. This is a real fun road to drive when there's snow on it.
You get snow up here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I came up here last December, well, about the middle of December, where we had about 8 inches of snow up here, and I was driving this road, you know, it was untouched, powder, and I enjoyed driving around all the roads up here. A lot of the plants are in bloom now. This is really about as many flowers as we've had all year. We didn't have any this spring. The late summer ones are blooming.
Tikaboo Valley. Dead ahead.
Straight out ahead.
What a view.
And mountains after mountains after mountains. The most distant range out there is at least 80 miles away. Maybe more. Okay, now as we stop right here, just off to the right of the road is Whiteside Mountain. In front of the distant peaks over there, that one sticking up in the middle is Whiteside. The one that
The one just above the big bush.
the one that above this yellow bush right here, just on the left side of it and above it.
Right.
And that's the one that we went up a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh.
And then
So Whiteside Mountain is the one in the centre. I got
Yeah.
you. That's where it was 2 years ago, viewing the base.
And the viewpoint that we use to climb to look at the base now is over here right above this taller tree on that far ridge. That's Tickaboo over there, and that's the one that we use to look at the base at now. It's about 26 miles back from the base, but because of the clarity here, it's easy to see the base clearly.
Uh-huh.
This is about a typical day as far as visibility, and we're seeing 100 miles or better.
100 miles. The little white object there in the road is the white mailbox. It used to be black, but it's now white.
But it's still called black.
But it's still called black.
Different one to you.
Yeah, this mailbox was installed on the 27th of March of 1996 when the rancher, Steve Medlin, finally got fed up with people going through his mail in his standard little block mailbox. So he put up a 1/4-inch steel plate locking mailbox, which is bulletproof and tamper-proof, so people will stop messing with his mail. He also had people knocking on his door at about that same time. One day he answered the door, and as they opened the door, somebody, snapped a flash picture right in his face. Japanese tourist. Okay, this is the Medlin Ranch here, and he's got cows. He raises about 500 head, and he has the grazing rights to this entire Tickaboo Valley. And he also has about 55 head of ostriches, which hopefully we'll see in a minute. And he is a person that is allowed, he's the only civilian allowed to go into Area 51 wherever he wants, because there are no fences out there. And his cows regularly go in and out of Area 51, and he's allowed to go in and tend them. So even if he'd seen anything out here, he's going to deny it because he isn't going to jeopardize his access to his cattle. Okay, the little rounded hill just to the left of the road ahead of us is Freedom Ridge, one of the viewpoints they took away on April of 1996. And then off to the right of the road a ways, there's a pointed peak sticking up in front of the sky in the foreground up there. That's Whiteside Mountain, which is the other point that they took in April. This little turnout right here beside us is one of the hiding places where security pulls in here and sits here with their lights off at night. And they're only 150 yards off of Groom Lake Road, but they're far enough off that you don't see them when you're coming up the road, and they can sit there and sort of keep track of your progress toward, the forbidden zone as it is.
This is the road to...
This is the old Freedom Ridge Road that goes out. We can still go out to, the new boundaries at the base of the hill, and we'll see a sensor out here about 3 miles ahead. We might even run into a security vehicle out here because there's not really a lot of a spot to turn around.
And this is still public land.
Oh yeah, we're 3 miles, 2.5 to 3 miles outside the boundaries right now. The hills off to our right, Freedom Ridge and all, the line is near the base of the hills now. Little white bump right at the.
Oh, I've got it. That's a security Jeep.
That's a white Jeep security, white Jeep Cherokee. And that's Hawkeye Hill.
There's 2 Jeeps there.
Yeah.
Ready.
Okay, there's our actual sensor unit, which is buried next to the road in the soil. Detects the metal in the vehicle.
And that's connected to.
And it's connected to that paint can over there, which is the transmitter. The ammo can contains the batteries. And this is in op. Nobody's fixed it. I knocked it out of commission about a month ago, and it's still out of commission. It's not hooked up. I did that about a month ago, and obviously they haven't really paid much attention to it. But it says U.S. government property, sensor transmitter, got a part number on it, and the gel cell battery pack, and the antenna. Transmits on 496 0.25 and 0.75 megahertz.
And their job is to.
Well, it's supposed to send a beep when someone goes by this location, which alerts them that somebody's in the area. And because there's 2 sensors, the beep is coded in such a way, it's probably a long beep, short beep or something, which indicates which direction the vehicle travels. But this one, I put it out of commission about a month ago by disconnecting the sensors, and no one has come out and rehooked them up, so obviously they're not real concerned about the fact that it's not working. Okay, up there on the hill just above the Joshua tree, silhouetted against the sky, are 2 surveillance cameras on top of the former Freedom Ridge viewpoint. There used to be cameras about 100 yards from there that were behind the old line, but now that the line's out here, they've repositioned the cameras. One's looking right at us right now, and the other is looking off in another direction, that a suspected way that somebody might try to sneak in and evade security. Okay, what you're doing, you're looking up the line, looking north, up the new boundary near Freedom Ridge. What they did here is they came out just on the south end of Freedom Ridge. They came out a half a mile eastward, and then a mile and a half northward along the slope of the hill that faces away from the base, and then back westward once they got past the high ground to encompass the high ground without taking too much land. And they did a similar thing up at Whiteside Mountain, except that they came out 2 miles north 3 and then back west for 2 to grab a little rectangle of land up there. In all, they took about 7.5 square miles of land, just under 4,000 acres. And these particular signs are literally right on the line. Some of them are behind the line, some of them are in front of the line at other places. These are really right on the line.
This is what's known as a sting bug. It's bigger than a British 50p piece, to give you some idea. There's my pencil and it's heading straight towards it. Now I'm going to move it.
Okay, that's Whiteside Mountain that you're looking at. That's what we climbed 2 years ago. And April of this year they grabbed this mountain, so now the border comes out right in front of us. These orange stakes here a few feet in front of us are the new border, and they come out And off to our right here, over to this rock formation, 150 yards from here, and then the line turns left and goes up across the ridge, up where that stick is sticking out laterally out of a boulder up there on the ridge. That's the new line.
And the orange mark on the rock is also.
That's the corner point on the line where it goes from the east-west line to the north-south axis for 3 miles, and then 3 miles north of here it turns back westward for 2 miles, so that you've got a 6 square mile area that was annexed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2 years ago what we did is we drove up this road across this line where it currently is and on up the valley up into that shadowed valley up there, and then we climbed the back side of that mountain, which isn't as steep as the face that's facing us, and we looked off to our left out past the sun to where the base is, over there right above the car, actually where you see that little car sitting up there, that security vehicle watching us off in the distance, that little bump on the top of the hill, the base would be right behind him, about 11 miles behind him.
Security man sitting on the hill, obviously knowing that we're here.
Oh yeah, he's not worried about me because he knows I respect the line, sometimes. Oh, well they get...
This is the new border warning sign. Somebody's pinched the top one, which says that use of deadly force authorised within the last 3 weeks. Carol and Chuck are not behind the border. The border is actually the orange post, as stated earlier.
Okay, well that's a security vehicle sitting on Hawkeye Hill watching us. Now he's about 100 feet outside of the boundary at that point. If we were to walk up that hill, which we could do, he would start his engine and back off about 100 yards on the other side of the line and watch us from safety, because us unarmed civilians are really dangerous to guys with guns.
So we're at the border now where it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, the actual border is in front of the signs here. Those rocks piled about 15 feet in front of the sign represents the real border. And straight ahead of us, you'll see a couple of metal clamps on a Joshua tree up there, a dead Joshua tree. Those metal clamps are holding an optical sensor, and we'll walk over there in just a minute and photograph that from a few feet away, because there's a border right there next to it. Okay, we're looking at a dead Joshua tree, which is approximately 20 or 30 feet inside the boundary near the main road entrance. And that's an optical sensor, that olive green tube. That's a light beam that shoots right down the line. If a person or a vehicle were to, cross the line, it would send off a signal up the road to the security post, and there'd be guys with guns here instantly. And then that canister there with the antenna is the transmitter that transmits the chirp back to the security post that tells them that it's been violated. Now you're panning along the line past one of many signposts, and the boundary goes on up across the hill up to the ridge up there, and the security vehicle is sitting about 100 feet outside of the line. He's on our turf, so if we were to go up there and want our turf back, he'd have to back off, and he would before we got there. It's amusing watching him back off.
Cameras.
The surveillance cameras, you've got a camera, the cylindrical object at the top is a motion detector. You've got a camera looking up the road. The thing further down, just above the tripod portion, is a transmitter and a solar panel down there, and there's also a microphone down there. And then further off to the right, there's another similar set up with the camera that's pointing right this way. So they've got it covered. Okay, the first site that we went to today was the old Freedom Ridge Road, and then we went over to the Whiteside Road, and now we're looking at the Groom Lake entrance, which would appear to be the main road in. Actually, it's only used by one bus and about 12 vehicles a day, and security patrols. But it kind of looks like it should be the main truck route in, looking at it, the condition of the road. Most of the trucks either go in the back way up behind Rachel or else in through the Nevada test site. And then off along the ridge over there, that hill with that very large antenna and radar installation is Bald Mountain, which is inside Area 51. And it's about midway between the base and Rachel. And the tallest building there is a radar antenna which was built in July of 1995 and completed in October. And the other buildings are optical viewing facilities and communications relay.
Boulders.
Pardon?
Boulders.
And the rocks here along either side of the road indicate the actual line. The signs in this case are a number of feet behind the line, and the rocks are lined up to indicate what the real boundary is. The train stealth surveillance raven.
Right, what we're doing now is heading back towards Rachel. We're on the non-existent road to the non-existent base, heading back to town.
Well, it's a non-existent road from the non-existent base.
Right, non-existent road from the non-existent base. And we were coming back later for a light fight with the guards. So just hope you participate. Here is the beginning of the road to the back gate of Area 51.
This is the road to the back gate of Area 51 right here. It goes straight down about 9.5 miles out to those far lights out at the base of the hills. That's the back gate. This is how all the truck traffic comes into Area 51. And all the people that live in Rachel that work out there use that gate. And there is a fence and a guardhouse and a gate there.
So I'm seeing two lights. There's one above the sign on the road and one to the left.
The one to the left is the back gate. The one near the road sign is actually a marker for one of the watering pivots out at the alfalfa farms. Each of those lights you see way out there are about a mile apart. They're at the center of a circle of alfalfa. That's the pivot point that the irrigation system turns on.
And the town of Rachel is the place with all the lights.
Right ahead of us there. That car is about right opposite the gas station. What we have here is off to our left is the gas station, and these little lighted things out here at this end of the gas station, Those are the radiation monitors. That little complex of lights right there and devices, that's the radiation monitoring station.
How often do they change?
It sends a signal by radio. It's also a graph recorder. The guy comes out once every 2 or 3 weeks and changes the paper and the graphs, and maintenances the device. But it reports via high frequency radio on an hourly basis.
Okay, tonight we're going to go here up Groom Lake Road to the Boundaries again, and we're going to get up on top of a little knoll about 100 feet to the north of the main entrance, and we're going to sit on top of that knoll and engage the security guards with guns in a little game of spot wars. We're going to light them up with a very bright spotlight. They're going to light us up with theirs. I may put a laser spot on their chest to make them think it's a sighting device from a gun. But just basically give them a little bit of abuse. They like to try to intimidate civilians, so somebody has to stand up to them. This looks like somebody's got a little campsite set up out here. That's the Jeeps.
So the reflection is a...
Has it turned so much
What's
out?
it done?
It's moved. Oh yeah. So,
So it's shining a pinkish light it is.
yeah, it's blue. It's blue towards.
No, that's off of something on the vehicle or his optics.
It's moved.
It's moved.
He hasn't got a spotlight out yet.
It's moved, hasn't it?
I think he's backed up is what he's done, out of sight. We're flying now.
Talk to me, Chuck.
Oh, this is just the guy up on the hill, and he figured out I was going to shine the light on him, so he's got me with his high beams. And we're playing the game now.
What would happen if you kept turning it off and on and off? You know, like moles. Would you do it back?
No, usually not. No, we'll see if we can get him to get a spotlight on us too. Okay, I'm going to turn it off and move on up the road a little further.
So what hill is he on?
He's on Hawkeye Hill. He's outside the line by about 100 feet. And I'm going to go ahead and go on up a little ways.
Will he turn that off in a sec? There's that boundary.
There's the main road boundary right below us. And he's sort of behind us back there on Hawkeye Hill, lighting us up.
Still.
And I'll shine the light back up here.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, is that a sign? No, that's not a sign. So the signs are down there. He's down there. Usually he sits back over in there. Now there's still one sitting up there. There's two sitting up there. I got a couple. There was one over there and there's one over there. See the side reflector on his front. And there was a guy. There was binoculars right over in there. The other guy, I think, heard me moving and backed out of there. see him.
Yeah. He'll reposition and light me up again. Oh, there's one right there. That's a spotlight. He's gonna try to light me up.
And there's security.
Yeah, that's just.
Are they inside their border?
He's right at the border, literally, and he's practically standing right at the post. The vehicle there is about 100 feet outside the border, but apparently he's over there with a spotlight, small spotlight. It's doing nothing.
So really, you could go up and park next to that other one.
No, back off. Basically, let's see the border. Let's see if I can see the post. It's right around, right there. That's the post right there, I think. And that's about right, exactly. There he is, right next to it. He just popped up and popped back down again. He's outside the line by about a foot. I saw him pop up and pop back down right next to the boundary post. That's still sitting still. We could be acting. He's not doing anything right now. He's just showing me the reflection. He's inside the line, or outside the line by a few feet, it looks like. Got you. I thought I might sucker him into a full blast shot there. Let me go over to here and he'll come back up.
Guy on the hill, he's a security guy.
Can you see it? Zoom in.
Chuck Clark is lighting him up with a massive power light. And the tree on the left is a Joshua tree.
Still no response. There he is. There he is.
Has he got his night things on again?
That could be.
I've lost him, Chuck.
Well, I've lost him too, but I've got the light on him, so maybe he'll hit us with the light again. He's still not dotted up. Geez, there he was. I saw him briefly. We are still.
want you to quit. You know, then they come back and they play a little bit. And then, because you know the